guys, welcome to my channel Salesforce Minded, where I aim to be your best Salesforce resource. My name's Jen, and I am here today because I want to talk to you about an important topic. And this is something that I had personally gone through many years ago, actually, when I was working in finance and decided to transition my career into Salesforce. And whenever I share this topic with others, a lot of times people ask me about my interview, about how I was able to land my first job and all of that fun stuff. And one common question that always comes up is the topic of how do I stand out if I am interviewing and I want to highlight something. So, and this is interesting because there were many people I had talked to about my own personal journey, and the questions were all slightly different. Some people asked me about Trailhead and certifications and what have you. But the one thing that always comes up is, what if I have no prior Salesforce experience and I want to highlight myself, highlight something on my resume or during my interview process so I appear to be more attractive or appealing to my future employer? And because I get asked that so many times, I decided to do a video on this topic alone. If that's something you're interested in, or if you want to learn more, then please keep on watching. So the topic is about appearing more attractive or highlighting something during your interview to make yourself seem more attractive or more um, you want the hiring manager to hire you essentially. What's the word? Not attractive, not your appearance, but just you seem more qualified. Yes, qualified is the word. And there are many things one can do. I would say there is not one um, special thing or smoking gun that you can point to and that gets you hired. I think it's a combination of your your knowledge in Salesforce on the in the Salesforce platform as a whole, or it could be related to how many certifications you have. I think these are all um, metrics that companies look at, and the more you have, the more helpful. So these are all really they're not going to hinder you from getting hired. But the one part I want to focus on is the non-technical side, right? And I'm saying that because it's easy to say I am a ranger, double star ranger on Trailhead. I mean, it's not easy, but you can easily point to that and say that's what I have. You can also go out and get a few certifications and point to that. You could have taken some courses and be able to showcase that in your resume, maybe build a project or something. Those are all really valuable things to take on and to do. So I do not want to discount that because after all, we're all if we're in the Salesforce ecosystem, we need to know what we're doing. We need to be technical enough to be able to um, follow best practices and all of those fun things. So I'm not discounting that. But what I want to point to is the importance of anything non-technical that you're able to highlight. And the reason why that's important is because if you think about the landscape of becoming or being a Salesforce admin, for example, or a Salesforce analyst, you're oftentimes in a company, you're not your own department. You are usually lumped under sales operations, and that's where I had gained my experience under. You could be under revenue operations. It could be marketing operations, sales, or maybe even IT. So depending on who is responsible for your Salesforce budget, that's usually who is responsible for hiring Salesforce talent and retaining Salesforce talent. So you could be interviewing at a Salesforce admin interview with many different people, but the essence is the same. You are essentially, as an admin, serving others in your company. You're taking requirements, you're prioritizing those requirements, and then you're carrying out the configuration or you're managing the changes that goes on in Salesforce. the important thing to remember here is it is oftentimes easy to get lost in the noise and say that, oh, I have these many certifications, or I know these clouds, I have so many trailhead ranking. Those are all great, but the one thing that I always look for when I interview for Salesforce talent myself, or when I was going through the interview process, I got feedback that was very helpful, was you highlight your transferable skill. So think about what your current role. It may not be, if you're watching this video, you're probably not doing Salesforce, or you could be doing something similar to Salesforce, but not exactly. So think about what you're doing today and compare that to the Salesforce admin or Salesforce analyst role. Think about what are some of the commonalities and what are some skills that you can transfer. I'll use myself as an exhibit A. I was in finance. I had done a lot of operations for a hedge fund. So I was in charge of booking trades, settling trades, and things like that. One thing that I was really good at, not necessarily enjoy, but I was really good at, was dealing with a high volume of emails and transactions, and I had lots of priority or competing priorities and projects. So I always had to spend time figuring it out, and I was able to do that while I was in that position. So when I was interviewing to become a Salesforce admin, that is one thing I highlighted as my transferable skill. I didn't have any certification. I was barely on the platform um, for 9 months, didn't even know anything about best practices and things like that. So I am probably the least qualified person there was. However, I think what helped me got the job, or what landed me the job, was the fact that I highlighted just what I had in common, what skill set I had in common with that job description. And I really honed in on that and spoke to that. So I think that's something to think about when you're interviewing for a new role. And this is beyond just Salesforce. Just in general, I think a good rule of thumb to go by is think about what you're good at, what you've done in general, and think about how you are able to transfer that skill so that it is still just as applicable in the new role as a Salesforce admin or analyst as it was for you in your other role. And that's something employers will really appreciate. So I was able to take my chaotic life working in the finance industry and basically made a case for myself that, look, if I could handle 1,000 emails a day, which I don't think was 1,000, it was maybe like hundreds of emails a day, I could easily handle 20 Salesforce requests, right? So I think there are certain things that you just have to be really confident about, and that's one thing I would spend a lot of time thinking about, is just what is this company looking for, and what can I do to show them that I've done this before, but in a different way, but the skill is there and I could easily transfer it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any comments for me, please comment below or hit the subscribe button here. Thank you.